The next morning came with a different kind of energy. I woke up to the sound of distant laughter outside and the gentle hum of life beginning its daily rhythm. Anita was nowhere in sight, but I could hear movements in the kitchen. Pots clinking, water running, something frying aggressively like it had said something rude to the pan. I stretched, walked out, and found her sweating near the stove, cooking beans again. "You're up," she said, turning with a half smile. "I am," I answered, yawning. "You didn't have to get up so early," she shrugged. I couldn't sleep. I noticed the small slump in her shoulders, the quiet beneath her words. She was trying, but her grief was sitting close today like it had dragged a chair beside her. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. She nodded too quickly. "I'm fine. Eat before the food gets cold." I didn't push. Sometimes the best way to respect someone's pain is to not force them to talk. We ate quietly. The beans were good, soft, rich, comforting, the kind of food that fills your stomach and heart at the same time. But halfway through the meal, I heard her sigh. It was small, but loud enough for me to feel it. "What's on your mind?" I asked. She tried to smile. "Nothing serious." That meant something serious. But before I could speak again, the neighbour knocked on the door. A tall woman with a headscarf wrapped so high it almost touched the sky. "Auntie Anita," she said. "The water hasn't come again." Anita shook her head, frustrated. "Since yesterday? Ah, this area will not kill me." The woman turned to me and smiled. "Welcome, madam." I smiled back politely. When she left, Anita groaned. "We might need to fetch water later." "Fetch," I repeated. "Like, with buckets?" "Yes." I blinked. "What happened to taps?" She laughed bitterly. "Tap water here is like a visiting relative. It comes when it wants." I stared at her, wondering how she said that with humour. My life back home is filled with conveniences. I push buttons and things obey. Here, even water had a personality. We cleaned up and got ready to go out. Anita said she wanted to show me another place, somewhere important, she said, but she didn't explain further. The sun was already starting its daily performance of burning everyone equally. We took a short walk through the neighbourhood, passing children playing, women chatting, and men sitting under trees pretending to be busy with absolutely nothing. We reached a small house with peeling paint and a fragile wooden gate. It looked even weaker than her school building. I was confused. "What is this place?" I asked. She looked at me with eyes that carried so much weight. "This is where I stayed after my husband died." Silence rushed between us like a sudden wind. "I couldn't afford rent anymore," she continued. "I had to leave our home. The landlord didn't even give me time. I ended up here for almost a year." I swallowed hard. "Alone?" "Alone," she whispered. I could see the memories forming behind her eyes, dark, heavy shapes pressing against the light. "There were days I ate only once," she said, "sometimes not at all. But I told everyone I was fine. I didn't want pity." My throat tightened. "You never told me," I said. She looked away. "You were doing well. You had your life. I didn't want to bother you." I stepped closer. "I am your friend." She chuckled sadly. "I know, but life makes you hide things sometimes." We stood there in silence, watching that old house like it held ghosts only she could see. Then she smiled suddenly. "But I survived. That is the important part." The strength in her voice almost broke me. Before I could respond, we heard someone calling her name. An older woman leaning on a cane approached us slowly. When she reached us, she hugged Anita warmly. "Your friend is beautiful," the woman said, smiling at me. "Thank you," I responded shyly. "She helped me a lot," the old woman added, turning to Anita. "When I had nothing to eat, she brought me food. When I was sick, she checked on me. Even when she had her own problems, she still helped others." I looked at Anita slowly. She avoided my eyes. "You didn't tell me any of this," I whispered. "There was nothing to tell," she muttered. Everything inside me softened. We continued walking, and she took me to a small cemetery not far from the house. My heart dropped. "Is this where?" I asked quietly. She nodded. We stood in front of a simple gravestone with her husband's name carved in faded letters. She knelt down slowly and touched the stone. Her fingers trembled. "I haven't been here in weeks," she said softly. "I couldn't. Sometimes I feel like if I visit too often, the grief will swallow me." I knelt beside her and placed my hand over hers. She looked at me, and the tears she had been holding back finally spilled over. I held her while she cried, deep, aching sobs that shook her body, the kind of crying that comes from a wound that never truly closes. I didn't say anything. I just let her cry. When she finally pulled back, she wiped her face and forced a smile. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't apologize," I told her. "You're human." We sat there for a few minutes, letting the quietness settle around us. Birds chirped softly in the trees. The wind brushed against us like it was trying to comfort her too. Later, as we walked back, she suddenly tried to lighten the mood. "You know," she said, "my husband used to joke that I was the only woman who could burn water." I laughed so loudly a passing group of kids looked at me like I was crazy. "But you didn't burn the beans," I teased. "I almost did," she whispered, and we both laughed again. Life is strange like that. One moment you're crying, the next you're laughing. The heart doesn't know how to pick one emotion, just mixes everything together. When we got home, she insisted on us fetching water since the tap still hadn't returned from its mysterious journey. She handed me a small bucket. "Small?" I repeated. "Why do you get the big one?" She rolled her eyes. "Please, if I give you the big one, you will fall inside." "I am stronger than I look," I argued. "Yes," she nodded. "But let's not test physics today." I carried my small bucket proudly, even though it felt heavier than I expected. As we walked to the community well, people greeted us warmly. Some children laughed at me struggling with my bucket. One bold little boy shouted, "Auntie, you're carrying it like it is a baby!" I gasped, "This is heavy!" The boy shrugged. "Not for me," and then lifted a bucket twice my size with one hand. I wanted to sit down and rethink my entire life. At the well, I watched people scooping water with speed and skill. When it was my turn, I leaned too far and nearly went headfirst into the opening. "Careful," Anita shouted, grabbing me. "I'm trying," I yelled back. The people around laughed so hard some almost dropped their buckets. By the time we walked back, my arms were shaking like wet noodles. Anita teased me the entire way. "You survived," she said proudly. "Barely," I replied. We rested on the porch, drinking cold water and watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. It was beautiful, peaceful. Something about that moment made me want to confess a truth I hadn't said aloud. "Anita," I said softly, "I didn't realize how much life had hardened me." She looked at me, confused. "Back home, everything feels controlled, clean, predictable. Here, things are loud and messy and raw, but I feel something I haven't felt in years." "What is that?" she asked. "Alive," she smiled, a genuine, soft smile. "I'm glad you came," she said. "I didn't know how much I needed you here." Her words touched me deeply. Later that night, we sat in the living room talking again. The lights went off, of course, but this time I didn't panic. We lit a candle and kept talking. At one point, Anita grew quiet. "There's something I haven't told you," she said. My stomach tightened. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I'm behind on my rent." I blinked. "How far behind?" 3 months. 3. My chest tightened. "I didn't want to tell you," she added quickly. "Please don't feel bad. I didn't ask you for help." "But you need it," I whispered. She looked at her hands. "I know, but I'm tired of always surviving. I want to live." Those words hit me so hard I couldn't breathe for a second. I reached out and held her hand. "You are not alone," I said. Her eyes filled again, but she forced the tears back. We didn't talk much after that. We just sat there in the candlelight listening to the night sounds. Crickets, distant music, laughter drifting from somewhere. Hours later, when we finally went to bed, I couldn't sleep again. My heart was full. Full of sorrow, full of love, full of a deep, burning desire to help her. My friend who had given so much of herself despite having so little. Something in me shifted that night. And I knew tomorrow would change everything. Warm regards to all my amazing listeners. Stay close for part 4, the final.